Okay, well, I'm right there. So I'm Andrea Aniceto-Chavez. I'm a producer at Cinecode, which is the virtual production arm of post-production house DigitalFilm Tree, where you can get all your VFX, color dailies, and security done, and probably more, because I feel like we always end up doing much more than that. So I am ready to present once they have the PowerPoint up. Okay, so here we go. So today I'll be talking to you guys about how we went from the game engine to the soccer field on a show called Ted Lasso. And this is more about how we've innovated and revolutionized their production process through season 3. So let's get started. I actually don't have the clicker, so let's see. Oh, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Just left and right? Okay. Okay, thank you. So I'd like to introduce you guys to my team. We're small but mighty, so we have our CEO, Rami Khatri. He's our CEO and founder. Nancy Jundy, our COO and CFO. Then there's me. And Kevin Stevens, our developer and animator, and Roger Matthews, our developer. So some of the shows we work on we've worked on a lot of shows actually, and some of them are actually coming out this month or later this year, like American Born Chinese, Waco, Dave, The Umbrella Academy, and many others, and of course Ted Lasso, which we've been working on since season 1. And to tell you more about Cinecode, well, we do a lot of things. So again, it's the virtual production arm of DigitalFilm Tree. We primarily focus on different story visualization efforts, from PreVis to TechVis, StuntVis, FinalVis, and we also do proof of concepts. So for example, creating concepts for concerts, music videos, or even doing intro sequences for our Drop podcast, which you can find on Digital Film Tree's website. And it's actually hosted and created by Nancy Jundy, our COO. And we primarily work with our film and TV clients, whether they're doing scripted TV or feature films. It pretty much varies. We're open to anything. And a lot of what we do, to do what we do, we leverage game engine technology such as Unity and Unreal Engine, and that helps us help production save time, money, and carbon footprint. So we've actually recently created a few new tools. So we call this tool Story Kit, and essentially we wanted to make something that would make doing PreVis or any kind of visualization much easier and much more efficient. So this would make animation and recording scenes easier to do, because we don't actually have to do all the manual keyframing work that comes with animations. And our vision was to create something that was as simple as playing a simple video game. And StoryKit actually comes with character animation, as well as camera features and camera metadata, which you'll see in just a moment. So we have a video, no video yet. So let me tell you more about the StoryKit setup. So it's a pretty basic setup. So the first thing is that you have to have the game engine installed, whether that's Unreal Engine or Unity Engine, as well as having StoryKit. Currently it's not available to the public yet, but we're working on it. And again, it's a basic computer setup, so computer, monitor, mouse, keyboard, or even an Xbox control, depending on your preference. So now let's play this video. You can press play on that. Great. So I'll show you guys about what's going on in StoryKit. So first we have the UI, and we start off with our character Jamie. And I know this is Jamie because I created these characters, but also I believe on the top corner, if it's not correct, the right, I don't know, I'm facing backwards. So the top right corner we have his name, and that happens with any character's name. And then we also have the keyboard controls on the bottom left, and that'll tell us our functionality. So we're using the WASD keys to move him around. As you can see, I'm moving him around back there in my recording, but then I switch over to Xbox because I'm actually not good at the keyboard. And the Xbox control actually shows the same functionalities, and it kind of tells you like what buttons to click depending on what movements you want to do. And then also on the bottom right, we have our mini map. So this is an essential tool, and it was actually inspired by our clients because they wanted to know how everything was moving throughout set. So currently we have this neon green circle that's tracking Jamie, and that circle is kind of showing where he's going throughout the stadium. And then we have these pink lines that he's approaching, right? And you'll be able to see this in the wide view when we get to that in just a moment. So these pink lines are actually the field of view lines for the camera. So you can see that on here. And we put them on there because the client wanted to see like what way the camera was pointing. And the camera is also shown in the mini map. It's actually part of the exports that we do when we create these shots. So that way they know, like, okay, is it like on the left side of the stadium? Are they moving to the right? Are they closer to the dugout? And it's helpful for them to know that as well, because even when this gets to the VFX department can then know, like, you know, whether they need a comp in a crowd or add the banter logo to like this, I guess, I don't know if it's a scaffolding on the side of like the stadium. And so it's helpful for them in that way. And also, I do want to note that the camera is a virtual version of the cameras they use on set, whether that's an RE camera or a Blackmagic camera. And so going back to the characters, we actually have a character animation wheel so we can select and go in between characters. So now you'll be able to see their faces. So here we have Ted, who is played by Jason Sudeikis. He has his famous mustache, and again, they look just like the characters because we used headshots to make them. And so we have Roy, and if we switch over to Ted and use beard, you can actually see him. And we wanted to make sure we did this for every single character because not only, you know, with name tags or no name tags, you can tell who everyone is. And we also wanted to make sure that the most critical character was also going to be part of this, which is the ball. So the soccer ball can even be animated. It has physics. It can bounce. It moves around. It's pretty happy. And we wanted to make sure, again, anything that's animated, whether it was a pigeon falling from the sky, it's all included on here as well. And for this example, I'll actually be using Danny, who's my favorite character, to show you guys more in terms of like how the animation works. So we added pretty basic soccer animations, whether that's like sidestepping or, you know, doing things like jogging and walking and then running at full speed. As well as doing like kicking or headbutting and then diving to the left. All of that is included on there, but we know that there's so much more soccer movements than just that, so we did create an animation wheel, or I guess an animation menu for that shows like a variety of different movements that you can add to that. And for something like this, we wanted to make sure it was customizable for the user to add like what movements they want to add, whether it's a reverse kick or clapping or diving to the right instead of the left. And this makes it easier because instead of doing something crazy where like, you know, you had to press 2 buttons to get, you know, maybe the character to kick or something like that, then in this case, it just, it's much more easier and customizable this way. Like you don't need to become like this complex, crazy gamer. So now we have him diving to the right, and he has the clapping animation as well. So we'll go into record mode to show you guys how this works. So on the Xbox, I just press record and we do a 3-second countdown. And then for this scene, we'll just pretend like Danny has the ball and, you know, he's running down to the end of the stadium. And at some point, you know, eventually he gets there and he kicks the ball and he scores. So for something like this, obviously we don't see the ball yet because we haven't animated it. However, even though everything has to be animated one by one, like we don't have like this multi-user setting yet, for something like this, it's still much more efficient than keyframing because it's not like, you know, you have to select the character and then drag them and add the keyframe and then keep doing that. And it becomes quite a long process. So for this, we just use the Xbox, hit record, and we can create as many takes as possible. We can then start creating other takes for other characters. And at some point, you know, in the case that like, let's say you don't like any of your takes, or maybe the client changes their mind and they want revisions, you know, with TV, like everything's always changing. So then you can just create those other takes and all of that animation data gets saved. So it's not like you lose your work. At the end of a session, you can pick through like different animation tracks to get it to work, or like see like, okay, what's going to be my final sequence. And I do want to note that for something like this, you know, there's about 22 players on the soccer field, and it's not always easy to like animate things, especially when like there's games where they're saying like, hey, the character is going to pass the ball like 40 times to like 20 different people, so figure it out. So for something like that, we've actually created a place marker tool. So can actually, let's see if it'll, my clicker. Okay, here we go. So the place marker tool is a tool that comes with StoryKit, and essentially you can add little dots everywhere and create lines and do placements, and this will create a pathway for each character. So on here I have like the number labeling, so it shows like it can go from 0.1 to 2 to 3 to 4. You can even add your own notes on there, whether you want to do something like, oh, Danny receives the ball here, and then in this next one he kicks it, and in the third one he loses it. So you can add all those notes, and that makes it much easier to animate and know what to do, because in a way when we're doing this PreVis, it's kind of like we're memorizing what the actor has to do as well. And going back into the StoryKit camera, so the StoryKit camera, it has a lot of features, and it's essentially an extension of the Cine camera that comes with Unreal. For this example, I do want to note that we are using Unreal. And it has like, for every exported shot, it'll tell us like what the lens information is. Usually on the shots on Ted Lasso, they require to know like whether we're shooting on an 85 millimeter, 300, so on and so forth. But also there's other information that they do get, but they get it in a text file because sometimes it can become really overwhelming to just have everything just burnt in. So they'll get other information like the camera height, who was the camera focused on, like what's the focus subject, the focal length, and sensor size, aspect ratio, and pretty much everything. Anything that you can think of, it's probably on there. And they also get, again, they get that exported mini map, so they can see how that camera was moving throughout that entire shot. So the StoryKit crane, this is actually a new feature that we added for season 3 because they were just getting into new equipment. And it's actually a virtual version of the Scorpio 45 crane. And we wanted, with everything we do, we try to make it as accurate as possible. If not, it is as accurate. It is accurate. So for the Scorpio 45 crane had the same limitations that it has in real life. So like, for example, like the arm length, it could only extend to a certain size, it can only shorten to a certain size. And for something like that, it'll even tell us the measurement of that as well, so they know like, oh, this is like, you know, what the depth is for that. And we wanted to also add, I guess, somewhat of an inverse kinematic system, which means, I guess I'm gonna try to explain this as simply as possible. Essentially, wherever you put the camera, it'll then work backwards to put the crane in the best position possible to make that shot possible. And mind you, I guess when my team sees this, they'll probably tell me that I explained that wrong, but who knows? So for something like that, it was very interesting because even this is helpful, like if they're shooting at the stadium and they want to take that crane there, or they're shooting at a production stage and they need to make sure that that crane fits. Then because it has that accuracy, and we make sure that even the environments have like the dimensions and heights that they need, then that's helpful to them because they know like, oh, okay, so these shots are possible, or they, you know, I guess get more creative with what shots they want to create. So I do have another video here that we can press play on. And this is just a shorter video to show like how the crane actually moves. It's just a sample showing around, and I'll let this speak for itself. And I believe that's it. So let's get to the next slide. So this next one is also another video, and this is actually going to show our PreVis side by side with the live action that was for episode 3 on season 3. So you'll be able to see that here. Enjoy. Well, I guess whether the audio plays or not, I'll just talk over this. So I do want to note while we're closing this, or I'm closing this, right? So for something like this, it definitely, doing all the PreVis, StoryVis, TechVis, StuntVis, any kind of visualization has helped many departments, especially on Ted Lasso, because it's not only something where they can like see what the story is going to be and like get an idea of like what shots they can shoot, but it's helpful to every department. So for example, the director can then show the actors what they have to do on set. The cinematographers can get an idea of like what shots they want to do, what shots they could prioritize. And even the editors will get our PreVis and start cutting it into a sequence where they can then, I guess, show the director like what a compelling story that they could make. And then even production design can then, design the stadium a little differently or add like different things to it. And even costume design also, like they'll tell us like what jersey colors they're wearing per shot, and that's helpful because it gets everybody on board and in a way it unites everyone. So that's it for me, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
So a number of the departments use this, like the cinematographer, and you said the writers, and whoever choreographs the game. Like, do they all have shared access to some server or something that shows the latest version? So if one person's changing something?
Videos that we sent to them. Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I'm like, is Rami answering my question? So like we'll give them, sorry, I thought my mic went off. We'll give them exported media so they'll see it, but they'll do live sessions with us. So whether they're remote, like in London or wherever they are, they'll go on Zoom. And for something like that, like the director will be there and they'll be like, can you like place the character here? And then also I want a medium shot and I want it to track this character. But we've had productions where like more people get involved, and so they're also part of that session where like they'll even say like, oh, this is wrong, like they should be wearing orange in this scene, they shouldn't be wearing that, and all of that gets changed on the spot. So it's not like something where they have to wait a week for us to come up with it. We can just do it right there and then, and that's the beauty of it.
Hi. Have you used any of this for like live performances or like theatrical events?
Define theatrical events.
I don't know.
Like a Broadway?
Yeah.
You know what?
Ballets.
Someone actually approached us that was like really big in Tribeca, and I can't remember her name, but then I think they just like, they were thinking of things in like virtual reality.
Okay.
I mean, it's something I'd be open to.
Cool.
Yeah.
I work in university like collaborative arts, and we're looking for like new ways for our students to sort of get involved with virtual production. We're doing a lot of stuff at NYU. So this is amazing to see. Plus,
thank you.
Awesome.
So do you see a lot of space for using these Unreal renders to eventually get to like final pixels for assets that are going to make it into the final version of shows?
Are you talking about FinalVis?
Yes.
Yeah. So I do think that it's possible. Like I've been waiting for a client to be like, we want it to be FinalVis, but actually I do have to say, and I can't say on which show yet, I don't think so, I might get in trouble. We actually have a show that did request, like, they were like, we love the PreVis so much, we want a FinalVis version of it, but also still make it look like the PreVis, but like cleaner. So we did something like that recently. I mean, it's gonna be on someone's season finale. I mean, we actually PreVised, or no, it's not fair to say it's PreVis because it's FinalVis. We FinalVised an episode. It'll be fun. It'll be our first time getting the, I guess, our 3D effort visualization like on aired on TV.
All right, well, thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you guys for coming. I appreciate it.